In terms of shadow emotions that come up, the one that's synonymous with the sacral chakra, especially in Chinese medicine as well, is the concept of guilt. And I think that as a society, in general, I feel that women seem to have a greater predisposition to experience those feelings of guilt, irrespective of the culture that you come from. You know, you and I both come from European cultures, and it's, I think, passed on in a very, very different way. But I see it with friends all over the world, whether they have Western upbringings or Asian upbringings or different heritages. What do you think about that? How has that shown up in your life?
Guilt, oh, definitely. That's something that has been passed on in my society, very closely with my parents. I think being the very, very good Germans, we work hard and we build our house and raise our families and we do everything correctly, and without having the ability to let go and to let loose, and letting everything fall without feeling guilty about it, to not fitting into a framework or a concept of our society and our upbringing. So yes, it has shown about in my life, and I learn every day to let go of that. I learn every day. I have to catch myself to not try to be the fish that swims with the current, to turn around and swim against the current, to feel the friction, to feel electrified by the unknown. And I think my path of turning around since this awakening when my father died was a symbol of that. And it had built up to that. I was always a little punk. I was always a little bit different, and I'm a twin, so I have a twin sister, and she was always the one who was more confirming and do everything what my parents said, and was the nice girl, and I was the rebel, and I always put my fist up and said, you can't just always do what they tell you. So, and it came from that. I think I always try to remember, and that might be also my German history of the Second World War and the Holocaust. I think this is all that taught me to reflect and not going with the flow, to not be the first one and guilt is something also that's in the female world that we try to please all the time. And I think this is what I teach my mentees, my yoga teachers, I mentor, to find their own way of saying things, their own way of representing themselves as a teacher, and letting go of the need to please everyone and to be the perfect person in everyone's eyes, because this is not where you thrive in life, where you stand out as a flower. I think if you honor your own beauty.
The predisposition to be people pleasers, especially when we first start teaching yoga, because we want to be well liked, we want to be well received, we want our class numbers to grow, because obviously that means more money as well, right? It's, there is a fine line between speaking our truth and being people pleasers, and it's very interesting. I find that amongst my friends and amongst yoga teachers, or even people that have been in any particular industry for longer than, say, 5 or even 8 years, it's almost like a rite of passage to move through a sense of cynicism. And then when you come out on the other end, your truth is so pure that you're very detached with how it's received. And I think that's really interesting, because back in the day, I wouldn't necessarily have thought of myself as a people pleaser, but now that I have the benefit of 10 years of hindsight, I see that I really was. I see that I really held back many of my own personal beliefs, or many of my own stories that had medicine to share, because I wanted to be the perfect embodiment. And when I surrendered to that, my teaching became a lot more authentic, because I was able to share the story of, hey, this is what I'm struggling with at the moment. This is what I'm working on, and I'd love your own insights. Like, I'm here, I'm guiding you and I'm instructing you, but I don't by any matter of means have all of the answers. And in many ways, that was very liberating. Very liberating.
And I thank God that you did that, because it's so good to have you in our community, as in the yoga community, especially in the Kundalini yoga community. I'm so thankful to know you, because you actually open a lot of Kundalini yogis' eyes to, not just follow, follow the white tribe, because it's very common in the Kundalini yoga community, and but it's not what Yogi Bhajan taught. Yogi Bhajan taught that you are a teacher. That doesn't mean that you're perfect. You're still learning. You're the best learning. You're not a guru. A guru is something different. If you want to call yourself a guru, then you may have to reflect on how much teaching is in that. So I think you said something really important, to be as a teacher the best student and be authentic and and just pass on the message. That's all we need to do. We don't have to change it. We don't have to make something up. We pass on the teachings.
Something that changed my life a lot in my one-on-one healings with people through kinesiology and also my personal life is the concept of a third, a third, a third. And it's really changed my life. And I'll tell you the little backstory to this, because when I started teaching, it was so long ago. And initially I was a dancer. So I was a dance teacher. Yeah. So it was very popular to teach people how to samba or how to salsa. And then I became a yoga teacher, and it was very popular to teach people how to chantaranga and, how to very gently get into the splits or how to do a handstand. And then I taught kundalini yoga, right? So all of a sudden, it was a very humbling experience for me, because as you know, it brings stuff to the surface, because it works so deeply into the vital organs and into the glandular system. So whatever is there that isn't clean is going to come up. And that repetitious movement is going to bring it up. And if people aren't necessarily ready to process those heavy emotions, you get a lot of projection. So all of a sudden, I wasn't the popular teacher anymore. And I didn't think that I wanted to be liked until I wasn't liked. And then it bothered me. My poor ego. And it was the best thing that could have happened to me, because then through my meditations and through research and reading and growing and determined to move through this block with my ego, the concept of a third, a third, a third was born. And so the idea behind this that I share a lot with my students is that a third of the world is going to love you no matter what you do, and they're going to follow you irrespective of where you live, who you're with, where you work, etc., etc. And then the second third is going to be indifferent. So, for example, I might meet you and I was one of your sister's friends, and I'll say, is it Alexandra? I won't even get your name right. You won't get mine right. We'll exchange pleasantries. Neither of us will go to bed thinking, wow, glad I saw her today. We'll forget about it, right? So we'll be indifferent. And then the last third, so there's the second third and then the third third. And the last third is never going to like you no matter what you do. Ever. And so I often say, do you know Kim Kardashian, to my yoga students? They're like, yeah. And it's like, do you like her? And they're like, eh. Do you care that she doesn't like you back? No. There you go. So if you want everybody to like you, you're actually wasting your energy and leaking that vital energy that needs to stay inside you on 2/3 of the world that were never going to like you to begin with. And that has been I have to say, my saving grace, because I just think, that person didn't receive my teachings very well. Are they in the first, second, or third third of the world? And it just helps me detach and think, you know what, that's okay. You weren't ever going to be one of my tribe anyway. So I'd rather surround myself with people that are going to be vibrating at the same frequency. And there's no good, bad, right, or wrong. It's not like the second or the third third are bad people or wrong people. It's more like I'd rather have to work less harder and surround myself with the people that are already, vibrating at a similar frequency to me.
Yes. And that's second chakra, isn't it? You're also, you're letting go of the feeling of inadequacy. You're letting go of the feeling of jealousy. You're just sitting in your own home, really, in your own sacred home.
And you're not plugging into an external source of energy.
I love it. It's so important. It's so important.
I really think so.